16th. No late items to introduce to this agenda. Can I get someone to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Frizzle, Councillor McKenzie. All those in favor? Okay. So we have no declarations of conflict of interest, delegations, adoption of minutes. There's no minutes to adopt from the last one because we've just started the new committee of the whole process. So we'll move straight to number 9, new business, the staff report on grant and aid. Staff, would you like to speak to this?
Yes. So today we are looking at our grant and aid program. We'll have 3 sections for the grant and aid program. The first section will be to set a budget. The second one will be a short presentation, and the third one will be a decision of council to grant a decision of the committee of the whole to recommend to council the grant and aid applications. So the first decision we have is for the budget. Historically, budget setting has been quite low, the value. It was ranging from about $5,000 to $20,000, but it was ranging about 5, 4, 2. And in 2023, we set the budget at $15,000, and council recommended to amend that budget a few times during the year. And it ends up, we had additional recommendations of $6,400. So it ended up being about $21,400 due to late applications. The current applications for 2024 is $20,400. And just to eliminate some of this budget setting activity and to allow council to operate within their budget and not have to do the budget amendment and fund it through council contingency, staff is recommending to set the budget as a percentage of property taxes, a municipal portion only. It's often about 1% of the municipal portion of property tax. That would put it at about $31,000. This additional amount can come from council contingency if they wish. Council contingency had a budget in 2023 of $53,000. If we allocated some of that $16,000, your budget contingency would be $37,000, which is still a significant amount. So I have a recommendation for council to set the budget for 2024 to 2028 based on a percentage of tax requisitions. So,
Okay, so do we have any comments from council? Council Brad?
What happens to any extra? So say we only grant 21,000 and there's 10,000 left. It can stay and it can roll over.
if council so wishes, or it would just go into surplus.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Councilor Matheson?
Just a quick question. If we're basing our budget on taxation, 1% taxation, will that affect our ability to sponsor events outside of our municipality? How is that proceeding?
Well, it depends on your policy. Currently, the policy for the District of Clearwater is that it generally, we're going to go through it, but generally it does not really support out-of-town events except where they can demonstrate that the district would directly benefit from those events. So if there was a event like down Dunn Lake Road, for example, and you have additional 100 people visit the community, you may want to support it.
Right.
Okay. Councilor McKenzie?
Thank you. Scott, just to clarify, that was 20,400 in for 2024 so far?
So far.
Okay, thank you very much.
Frizzle?
So it's an approximation of $31,000, so that would leave us $7,000 if we have people come through the year. We still have some money that we could
Yes.
access without adjusting the budget again.
The grant and aid is entirely up to the district, or entirely up to council how they want to spend it.
Right.
They do not need to provide 100% of the grant that's the granting or the applicant, they could provide 80%. Council may want to have 75% of that and leave 25% for applications that come later in the year. It's really up to council how they wish to proceed.
Councilor Bratton?
How has the process been going for people submitting? Because we've gone from an old process of submitting all throughout the year, and we've nicely tightened that up. Has it been successful?
It depends how you measure success. However, for those that I knew may be interested, I gave an additional phone call,
Gotcha.
asked if they were wanting to apply. People still, like if something happens throughout the year and wasn't expected,
Right.
last December, it's difficult for the nonprofit organizations to say, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Right.
However, our policy does say you need to stay within the boundaries of your budget. And so would like to provide council the opportunity to have
I like
enough
that.
budget
Yes.
so that you can follow your policy.
Yeah, I like that.
So from my perspective, I've just noticed a change in our philosophy around the grant and aid since 2021, I'd say, is really where it seemed the shift happened. It seemed to be much smaller numbers before, and then post-COVID, it feels like we've really ramped up in supporting especially community events and social kind of things. I'm wondering, do we want to, like, at 1% or 31,000, that would be the largest grant and aid budget we've ever set.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a marked increase in a year where we're looking at significant budget pressures from other sources, right? I'm wondering, like, I like the idea of tying it to taxation to have a consistent number, but I'm wondering if maybe a 0.5% and then us making some hard decisions when it comes to the individual applications is a fair way to balance public concern around our tax expenditure and also make sure that we support these social events. But I'm not sure what other people feel around the table.
So, sorry.
Councilor Matheson?
Yeah, my thoughts are, we don't have to spend it all. If we can carry it over from year to year, maybe the next year we'll have a little bit left over in case something contingency comes up or something happens through the year. We have something to fall back on that's already budgeted for. But I think having fiscal oversight of it and being responsible and not just giving money out freely, that we have some left over at the end of the year, I think would be a good way of going. Then we know exactly what we have every year.
Councilor Bratton?
I like where you're going with that, but we also could still do this, but not grant. We could do percentages, as what Ms. Klassen had mentioned, so only do 25% or 35% of the grant to each individual, depending on what their parameters are. Having room for movement seems to be where we need work, and we're going back to the table anyways, it seemed. So I like having room there, but that's just me.
Any other thoughts? Councilor Frizzle?
I'm trying to get it straight in my head. I'm wondering if we should have the discussion about the grants before we make a decision on this. Because I have some questions about some of them, the requests in here and the amount that they're asking. So maybe we don't need to, 24,000, is that what's on here right now?
But I think we're talking about 31,000 as one of the potentials, right?
That's the
And-
1%.
Yeah, and I think that's the logic of discussing that before is it makes us,
Forcing us to, yeah,
it
okay.
it sets that limit beforehand. I see that as a, potential thing that could be good about this. I think the other thing to remember is that 31,000 that we would collect, that 1% tied to tax, we're gonna be collecting that from people. So even if we're keeping it year to year, we're still costing our taxpayers that money. Regardless of whether we bank it,
Yep.
we're still asking them for the money.
Councillor Herring?
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Clausen.
Just a reminder that money is funded from your contingency, so we've already taxed for it. I'm just moving it simply from the contingency down to the
Oh.
the grant and aid.
Okay, I
That
misunderstood
was my
that.
recommendation,
misunderstood that.
if
Oh.
council
That
is
makes
okay
more
with that.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
That was my next question.
Okay, so that
So I'm
changes it for
reducing the
me.
contingency, increasing the grant and aid, because essentially, when we have the surprises, that's how we fund them.
Yes,
So I was wondering if that's what council would like to do.
yes.
Ah, okay, that makes a lot more
That
sense.
makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
So I'd be in favor of that if it's coming from contingency and we're not doing an additional tax requisition for it, kind of thing. It's not going on the list. The other folks think.
Yeah, I like that.
So it will reduce our contingency,
Yeah.
which is, right now, we're not close to spending our contingency generally, are we?
No,
Perfect.
it's a healthy contingency. If council so chooses to make that recommendation, I would just add that, we would add that right into the recommendation.
That's what I was just gonna suggest.
And that
So
it be
that's very
funded
clear.
from
Yeah,
Okay.
council contingency.
All right, so does anyone wish to make the recommendation or a recommendation?
Make a motion on option 1 with the addition, how would I word that?
That the additional funding would come from the council contingency.
Okay,
I'll second that.
second it, so Councilor McKenzie seconds. All those in favor? Oh, actually, discussion first, but
I think we discussed it.
rookie move, rookie move.
See, you just want to do it right.
Okay, so the next piece of the conversation, did you want to speak to that?
The
Ms.
next
Clausen?
piece, I just wanted to go through the presentation of grant and aids just before we actually apply the policy. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. So in the grant and aid policy, the purpose is to recognize the value of the local clubs and nonprofit organizations and charities bring to the community. They bring the events to the community that perhaps the district of Clearwater isn't putting on, kind of like the May Day Parade. There are some constraints in the policy. The first one is that is subject to budgetary constraints, and that's where we are, what we talked about just prior to this presentation. The second constraint is that it shall not be available for out-of-town events unless it can be demonstrated that the district will directly benefit from those supporting such events. Next slide, please. In the policy, we have 3 different grant and aid programs. The community events program is a recurring event that council determines that will bring benefit to the community and is open to all members of the public. The community project grants is a one-time assistance, either to start up funding for a project or organization or for a short term. And special events is also a one-time or first-time event for culture, social, or recreational significance to the community. All of these events should be open to the public. There is 3 methods of payment. Cash is a direct payment that made directly to the nonprofit. An in-kind contribution, it's free or subsidized use of municipalities' facilities or staff. And often it's hard to capture these kind of in-kind contributions, but it is a real cost to the community. And last, I do need to report these to the province, and we report it in our annual report as well. So as transparent as possible. And our process that we use is we put out the advertisements early in November, try to get the applications in by December 1st. That's been a challenge from time to time. But phone calls and whatnot, we have I think a healthy number of applicants. I review the applicants and then I bring them to council. In January, we add the budget to the financial plan and we notify the applicants and we send out the grants. So it's a pretty simple process for a structure. The next slide shows if there was an event that a nonprofit would like to hold during the year and we have the budget for it, we can submit it anytime. And the next slide, please. There are other criteria that we look at. Each application should be judged on its own merit. The council may want to consider the cost-benefit factor to the district. The approvals are at council's discretion. You don't need to grant the full amount, you can grant a percentage of the amount. The spending that we do grant has to go for the project that they apply for. If they cannot use the money for operating costs, for example, it has to be for the project they applied for. Corporations and individuals are not eligible. It has to be a nonprofit organization. It cannot exceed district's budget. The organization must be able to demonstrate the need, that they need the money. And they must be able to also demonstrate that they've looked at other sources. And some organizations have looked at other sources, or they say they're going to look at other sources. For example, if they're new and they haven't hit the grant cycle of other granting bodies, then they may not have done that yet.
We'll figure it out.
And next slide, please. So just in final, the application must request what other governments, we talked about that. I talked about, it was accompanied, lots of them were accompanied with financial statements and a budget, which was great to see, much better than in prior years. So I am seeing improvement. Council reserves the right to refuse, pay in full or prorate any request. And granting applicants will be notified in writing of council's decision. One thing to note this time is something new, is we had one applicant that asked for a 3-year grant and aid, and that's possible if council so wishes. A 3-year grant and aid each year. So now we're going to the point where we get to make some decisions. 2 slides up, please. So I've drafted some of the resolutions for you to consider when you're going through the applicants. The first resolution is for cash 1-year resolution. I'll just read that. That the committee of the whole recommend to council to direct staff to allocate and dispense funds for the 2024 events grant and aid budget for a one-time grant and aid contribution in the amount of, so that's the amount that to the organization for the specific event. In kind, exactly the same, except it says in kind instead of cash. And then the third one is if council decides to grant cash for more than 1 year, it says for the years from 2024 to whatever years you would like. So saying that, we have a list. When you go through each list, you have all the applicants and applications in front of you. If you have any questions, I'll answer what I can.
Just a quick question. Do we need to do a separate resolution for every one of these agencies?
Yes.
Perfect.
So the first one is called Done Poking Around. This is for their annual event in Dunn Lake, and they're requesting $2,500 cash.
What did we give them last year?
I think about the same, about
Yeah,
$2,000.
I think they asked for more, but we didn't give them.
Correct.
I think I have to remove myself for this one, because I am, I've written them letters of support in the past, so I'll let you guys have the conversation, and somebody can call me back in.
Yes.
So who's chairing?
Yeah, we do. I guess, yeah, that would be me. Okay, well, moving on. Carry on, Ms. Claus.
Okay, so $2,500, how does council want to?
Yeah, my question, I would like, because we've never had this before, that in my recollection, is when we grant the money to these people, that they come back and give a report on how they did. Because I have no idea how this went last year. I know they had it.
They do have a financial statement.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, to get a sense of how they felt about it and stuff, I would like to hear how people do with the money that we give them. Be nice to have that.
Councillor Frizzell, if you're asking me, I agree 100%.
Okay.
It's just, it's a missing item in our policy.
Yeah,
And it does promote accountability.
yes.
It's been
So,
talked about, but
yeah, I would really like to see that, just so I know.
Are we allowed to make a motion for that? Do we have to do that in a regular meeting?
I don't know, I think,
You can do it in this meeting. It's just you, a committee of the whole recommends to council
yeah, it would
that.
have to be that.
I would like to make a motion that the committee of the whole recommends that
To council.
donors come back with a rundown how their event went and
A report.
a report, how the money helped them.
Seconder?
sorry,
Yeah.
I'll second that, yes.
And Chair, through to Council Breton, is this a written report or an in-person report to council?
I think
I would like, my
Delegations.
personal, I would like to see them come in and do a verbal
I would like
report,
that
but
as
a
well.
written report is acceptable too. But my preference would be that they did both, actually. That would be my preference. That's me.
I second that.
And Chair Frizzle, who seconded the original motion?
Councillor McKenzie?
Yes.
So we're asking them to come back and give us a report on the done opening round festival.
Well, after, yeah, everybody,
Not just one. My recommendation is to
Yeah, I got that.
add
Anybody
this to
that
our
we-
policy that people that receive grant and aid from us come back and give us some sort of report.
on how their event went.
Yeah, thanks. It doesn't have to be
Talked about,
fulsome.
we just never follow through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've never heard from anybody.
I just,
Actually,
Mr. Prime?
sorry, I'm gonna go back on that because I do believe Kalen came in for the May Day parade. He had some sort of something.
Before.
He came in before the parade.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Prime?
And just, I'm curious if we should be bringing in Chair Herring for this portion, as it's not related to, directly to.
Yes, I think so.
But should we just, because this really has,
Motion first and then go back to it.
yeah.
He gets exercise today.
Oh, thank you. I will put that there for you.
You'll have to leave again because we've run into a discussion, because I brought up that I would like to see anybody that we grant funding to come back and do a verbal report, verbal or written report on how their event went. So we have an idea of how our assistants helped them.
And I've put a motion out that we require them to come back to take to our open meeting to decide on.
To come and make a report.
Can you explain that?
So a motion to adjust our what is it?
Grant and aid.
Yeah, but it's a policy. Adjust our policy
Oh,
because it's
policy.
actually not in our policy.
To request,
Oh, to have them come back and do a report.
to do a verbal report.
Post-event.
Post
correct.
event, yes, post event. Mr. Prime, I don't know who's chairing this anymore.
Yeah, my apologies. So the resolution that's right now been seconded and is on the table is that the Committee of the Whole recommends to Council that grant and aid recipients return to Council with an in-person verbal report on how the funding helped their event. That's what we have currently.
Like that.
All those in favor? You may leave again. Now we'll carry on with the actual conversation we're supposed to have.
So, and he's removing himself for that one. I probably would have to remove myself for May Day. I don't receive money, but I do help out with it.
That's a tough one because we all do.
I don't know how that works.
What, could you restate your?
So this is where I always get fuzzy, is I do help out with the May Day parade. I help. I'm kind of.
Organize.
I help organize it. I know we're all part of it, but I do help organize it. So I don't handle any kind of money or anything, but
I guess you have to have a direct, the test is a direct or indirect pecuniary interest.
And that's,
So that means, do you have a financial interest in
Yeah.
this? In this?
I mean, I help Kaylin push for it. So I don't know that I shouldn't say
You're
push.
in the
You're
clear.
not being,
I didn't help him write his write-up or anything.
I think you're good, actually.
Okay.
if you're just like any other volunteer,
I'm a human making sure everybody doesn't get run over.
And it worked.
member of the society,
No.
I know I am not.
okay.
There you go. Okay, so let's move on to
I'm super
the,
sorry. I just wanted to
the
make sure
actual
that it was,
grant and aid application with the done poking around. Discussion. Councillor Matheson.
I've just got a little bit of a concern with the full amount here. This is the second year in a row that we've funded a fairly sizable amount. And I'd like to support it, but I don't think we could, I don't feel good about supporting it the same amount this year. They have to grow.
I know that last year we did, I think we had decided on half of the full amount that was requested last year. But because of where it's located, I understand that it will support Clearwater, but it actually is in the TNRD.
No, it totally is, and
Yeah.
the reason that we supported it is because people come to Clearwater and
Yes.
so use our accommodations and gas and food and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So it is a benefit.
Right.
I get that.
Because if
But-
we look at some of the other requests, this one's a substantial one.
Yeah, I actually like the idea of splitting this one in half, at least. Councillor McKenzie, I see a thought.
I'm sorry, I'm
how
just
did
trying
they
to
make
remember
out
what we
money-wise?
did last year. If-
I think we had $15,000 and our requests were
Way over
larger
that.
than that. And so I think we took everybody down, I think it was 80% or 75%.
I thought it was anything over $1,000. We
I'd have to
split
look.
it in half,
Sorry, yeah, that's correct.
and then anything under that, they just gave them what they asked
Full
for.
amount,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think something like that, or 2,000
trying to
or whatever
remember.
it was. So, yeah. I think I'm okay with the 1,250 myself. Go ahead, Councillor Brunton.
So I'm just looking at where they received money last year, and they got a grant of 7,000, and they also got the Arts Council of 4,000 and Community Forest of 1,000 and TNRD of 2,500. So what my curiousness is 2,500. Are we replacing TNRD request? I'm wondering, like. That's a lot to make this. That's a big event. It's a lot of money.
It doesn't say we're replacing the TNRD.
No, I know,
You're making.
So we're on top of all of that request as well? I mean, they're putting good effort into it, but.
Where are you seeing that anyway?
It's next page, so page 31 of 114.
Oh, 31.
Oh, sorry, these are people they've approached.
They're going to be
Yes.
asking them
Yeah.
for that money.
I'm sorry, that was
Yeah.
misrepresented.
And I think they asked for that same money last year too. What, I
Okay,
don't know.
I'm
Don't
sorry.
know if they got it or not.
That was my bad.
I think
So-
just from us last year, I believe, rings a bell.
Say again?
I think just from us last year, they received money, I don't believe they got any from any of these other ones listed, and
I do believe they get turned down by the community forest. I'm pretty sure of that.
does ring a bell, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm agreeing with Ken, maybe, but we need a parameter, like what's our reasoning for going that? To me, I think like it needs to be something that follows through with everybody.
Well, I think it's that we, it isn't in our community.
Yeah.
It isn't in our boundaries, but we do realize that it does help our community.
It's a benefit,
It's a
for sure.
benefit,
Yeah.
yes. So we want to support them, but we can't support them all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I'd like to make a motion at 50%,
So 1,250?
1250.
Seconder? Oh. Oh, there.
Yeah.
You want to read that up there, Ken? Can you see that?
The community,
Oh, it's right
I've got it here. For one time,
Yeah, the one that, read the top line.
that the committee of the whole recommended council direct staff to allocate disbursed funds of the 2024 events grant and aid budget for one-time grant and aid contributions in the amount of 1,250 to the Done Poking Around Festival
For their festival.
for 2024.
Yeah. A seconder for that? Councillor Broughton. Discussion, we have to remember this is a one-time only.
Actually,
This
hold
is
it, sorry, I have. we have to-
discussion.
Sorry, if you read their application, this is, these funds are to go towards operating costs. Deliver, like, I thought we had stated we can't do that.
The event operating costs, not day-to-day, so if we were, for example, if we were providing events or funds to the Yellow Head Community Services,
Oh.
it's not their day-to-day.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay,
It's for the event.
it's the event. No, that's good to ask the question. You need to know the answer.
Yeah.
you carry on.
So what we're doing is a one-time grant and aid,
Yes.
and so this is the second one. So, I mean, just to say, you know, we need to be aware that we can't fund something every year necessarily.
You can fund whatever you,
Yes, I
whatever
know we
council
have
so
that.
wishes, however, when what was intended there is the year-over-year, for example, the Wellsgrey, Lively Arts Society asked for 3
They're
years.
asking for 3
And they
years,
were
okay.
providing a service to the community of coming every Thursday during the summer months with music in the park. That's almost a service. And yet they have to come back to council every year. So that's what I meant by the 3
Yeah,
years.
then that's fair. That's fair. That's, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Done. We can get him back in.
The following grant is from the Rotary Club of Clearwater for their annual Christmas tree light up. It's for $500.
So, any discussion on that?
No, I'll make a resolution on that.
Okay, making the resolution, do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Matheson, discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
That was an easy one.
All right. So up next, we have the Royal Canadian Legion First Responders Dinner for $400. All right.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
I actually wonder if they're asking enough, to be honest.
That was mine.
Yeah,
Seriously.
$400 doesn't buy much. They must have great support from elsewhere in the community.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know that they are, but anyways, yeah.
They need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Do we have a motion for that one?
I move that the Committee of the Whole recommend to Council to direct staff to allocate and dispense funds from the 2024 Events Grant and Aid budget for a one-time grant and aid cash contribution in the amount of $400 to the Royal Canadian Legion for the First Responders Dinner.
Wow.
Filled in all the blanks.
Very good.
Do we have a seconder who's willing to say all
second
that? Council McKenzie. And discussion?
I went to it. It was a great event.
Yeah.
They did a really good job.
They do a
of it.
really good job.
I'd like to see, I'd like to see more of it, so.
Right on. All right, all those in favor? Okay, next we have the Valley Pride Society for the 2024 May Day Parade events. They're asking for a cash donation of $3,000 and in-kind of $500. Any questions, comments from council, or would anyone like to make a resolution?
I'd like to read that.
Oh, I see.
Did they do the dinner last year? They didn't, did they?
I seem to remember something that happened at the ski hill
They did,
after.
there was a dinner.
Was it the dinner? I know they've danced.
This is a fantastic event. Are we on discussion?
Yes, yeah.
It's a fantastic event. The 3,000 is a lot.
Yeah.
There was a couple of portions to it that were maybe could be
And
rounded
that's, I
out.
think he mentioned that in there, things need to be tightened up.
And I mean, my suggestion would maybe be 2 or 1,500.
Sorry?
My suggestion would be 2,000 or 1,500. I'm just looking at where they're putting some of their money. I'm wondering if they're a little excessive, but
Well, I see that their goal is 6,000,
And they
minimum
have half of
operating
that
goal, and they've
now.
got 2,000 from Wells Gray Community Forests. They've also got $2,000 profit left over on their financials from last year. So I think maybe cutting back a little bit would be very doable.
yeah,
So, and sorry, that's cutting back the cash component,
Yeah,
leaving the
and leaving
in-kind.
the in-kind.
In kind is a tense, is it not?
Would anyone
So,
like
yeah,
to make
yeah.
yeah. Anyone like to make a motion or a resolution on this one?
Make a motion, just gotta find it.
don't make me do it.
Don't make you do it?
I can't read all the way up there with these glasses. Where is that?
Page
Okay,
23.
yep, there, I got it here now. Okay, so the committee of the whole recommend to council direct staff to allocate and dispense funds from the 2024 events grant and aid budget for a one-time grant and aid contribution in the amount of $2,000 to the Valley Pride May Day Parade for 2024.
With the $500 in-kind
With,
donation?
yes, with the,
Yep.
what is it?
$500.
$500 in-kind benefit.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all right, all those in favor? Okay, next up, we have the Wells Gray Lively Arts Society coming through with their summer stage for 24, 25, 26. $10,000 annual amount. So they're looking for 3 years of funding to be determined now at $10,000 per year.
Yeah.
Just to start off with, we did 10 last year, correct?
I think it was 6 or 7.
That's right.
Isn't
I
that what
can't
they
get to
asked
my-
for, but didn't we split that in half then?
Well, I don't know if it was half, but I can't get to the spreadsheet in this office, in this
Okay.
room.
So similar ask to last year.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel that she was saying the prices to get musicians to the community and to pay the musicians and put on the events was significant, and prices have increased.
Everything's gone up.
You know, go ahead.
If a community group folds, what happens with what we've already said we would do? It doesn't have to happen. Because these are volunteer groups, right? They're nonprofits. They have some groups have a tendency to not happen in 3 years.
The district would not transfer the funds, would not
Yeah.
transfer $30,000. They would transfer $10,000
Each year.
Each year.
Yeah.
So next year when it comes, we'll put it down. You'll see it. Council will have. It'll be an approved resolution already. You don't.
I see. We don't. Have
You
to
may
go through all
not need
this.
to make that decision again because we've made a decision already.
Okay.
Councilor Frizzle?
I'm going to play devil's advocate because this is a group that wants to bring these groups in to play music for the community, and it's great, and people love it, and they show up. But it's their project, but suddenly we're paying for it all.
I'm kind of with you. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and I feel like they've been doing this for a while, and there's no avenue for them to be able to pay for that on their own. So it's become us who have to pay for all of these, us as the district. And so I'm just questioning a little bit if it's something that they should be doing.
I'm
Okay.
curious. It was declined by Wells Gray Community Forests. Didn't meet their funding criteria.
And at BC Arts Council as well.
Oh,
Interesting. Okay. Any other comments?
Go ahead.
I mean, I know everything has gone up. I think this is a great event for Clearwater. It's
It
busy
is.
out there. I myself do not have a problem with going through with this right now. I appreciate and I see all your concerns. I really do. This is one that I think helps keep Clearwater on the map with our tourists and everything else that going on. Those, you get those 8 weeks in the summer that been down there to a pretty full house in the field. So that's, I'm sticking to my guns with this one. I think it's a great thing to have in town.
Anyone else? Councillor Matthew?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I think it's a great asset for our community. I do have concerns that we are funding it 100%, and I think that they could be a
That's
little more
my concern.
proactive in
Fundraising.
and bringing some money in. I know there are the coffee houses, and it's by donation. It's donation down in the fields. I'm wondering if somehow it could be expressed unofficially that maybe they could be a little more,
They need to branch out.
reach out and try to get some more revenue streams going,
So
other than just us.
I was wondering, I agree with Councillor McKenzie. Like, I'm a big fan of this event. I think it's a flagship one that we should keep helping, but I think maybe to encourage them to get a little more financially independent. What if we were to structure it so that year 1 they receive 10, year 2 they receive 8, year 3 they receive 6, so that it's kind of like, all right, we'll help you out this year again and get you guys up to the current wages, but you need to start thinking about sustainable funding into the future.
Can I say it?
Councillor Frizzle?
And I totally agree with that. I think it is a great event, and I really do want to see it. My only concern was I don't want them to rely on that
Yes.
core funding. We shouldn't be the core funding. They need to find some funding.
Comments from staff?
Sid and I were just mindful, it's almost actually it's past Q2.
Ooh,
And we still have a number of things.
we're
So
pretty slow.
We could, postpone.
Which,
Well, let's get this one out of the way.
how much more do we have on the agenda post this?
There's three big ones.
Well, you have the rest of this one, 2,
Yeah, those
3,
are the big-
4.
So we're
Grant
just
and aid.
finishing this list though, correct?
This list, and then there's 3 other ones that are
Yeah.
significant.
The
grant
big,
today.
the three big
Okay.
ones.
All right, so how do we want to do this to get it done in 10 minutes here?
If you're okay, if I could make a suggestion, if you're okay with them generally, you could just recommend to council approval, because they still have to go to council, but you could defer the other ones to a subsequent council meeting if you wanna put a bit of gap in between.
I think the grant and aid could be referred to another council meeting, and the big projects, whatever.
Yeah. I think the big project ones.
The big
you could
kahunas.
push to the 30th? Yeah,
30th,
30th
yes.
if you like.
Okay, so let's do that then. We'll make a motion to move the 3 grant and aid projects from, I don't know if they have a separate title, but page 26, and we'll move those to the next council meeting. On the
Council meeting
30th.
or committee meeting?
Next committee meeting, sorry, yes.
Or the items on page 26, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
and then we'll just quickly finish up this list if we can.
Sure.
I think we have 10 minutes, we
I could do that.
talk fast.
We can do it. So I actually like your idea myself.
I have one comment just on page 55, is you can see that the district did donate $5,500 last year.
Perfect.
Cute.
I believe they asked for like 7 or something like that.
So that's a huge amount.
That's a huge increase.
I'm okay with giving it a good kick to start, and paring it down, and it's making a subtle statement that you need to be a little more financially responsible. Here's a big bunch, let's get going.
It's not a start.
I think that the costs have gone up, like
They
that's a
have.
real thing, performing musicians right now, it's significantly increased. So I do see why there's an increase in cost for this right now, but yeah, I agree, I think maybe a 10-8-6 kind of model might be a good way to
Okay,
move forward, what do you
I
guys
like
think?
that.
okay, can I make a motion then? That the committee of the whole recommend to council to direct staff to allocate dispersed funds from the annual events grant and aid budget from 2024 to
2027?
2024, 25, 26?
Yep,
Yeah. The approved annual grant and aid contribution will be 10,000 for year 1, 8,000 year 2, 5,000 year 3.
Yep,
yep.
Do we have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, Further discussion?
Is a motion allowed to be changed if in fact that it needs to be?
If it does, so let's,
Do the
Like
discussion
down,
first.
like next year, if,
so next year, if your concern is that they stop providing the service
yeah,
or they
Or
don't
they-
exist, we would not advance the funds and council would know about
they
that.
excel extremely well and they made a huge profit. That's my concern.
Okay.
That could be revisited though.
Maybe that's unreasonable.
Yeah, and I think we're past the point when we ask
know.
staff questions,
Okay.
just
Yeah.
because we're on
Yep.
discussion. So there's a question on the floor.
Should you ask Mr. Prime? I don't know.
I don't know.
No, I just have a clarification on the amount for year 3 as well as who seconded.
The amount for year 3 was 5,
5.
and
10, 8, and 5.
who was the seconder? Sorry.
I second
Councillor
it.
Frizzle.
All right, and so all those in favor?
Well, we're,
Yeah,
All those in favor?
sorry.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Moving on, we will do Clearwater Fire Department Association Halloween fireworks for $1,000. Do we have someone who would like to make a resolution or any discussion?
They're requesting 500.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone want to make a motion or discuss?
Got my paper here.
I like that one.
Are you making a motion?
I'm too busy watching.
Do we want to postpone
Can
this?
can we just,
No, we need to finish.
well,
Hopefully
you're
we
gonna
have
do these,
5
can we
minutes.
do those 3 together? Just say that we approve them all together?
Well, let's just back-to-back resolutions
Yeah.
quickly. So,
Yeah.
do we have a mover?
I'll second.
Okay, so moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Councillor Matheson. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Next, we're gonna move on to the Wells Grey Outdoors Club Canopy Half Marathon.
Move that.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Second up.
Seconder Councillor Bratton. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Great. Okay, next up is the Yellowhead Community Services Society Unplug and Play Magic Show Cultural Medicine Bag Workshop for $1,000.
Second.
Seconded. Okay, do we have any discussion? All those in favor? And lastly, we have the food bank.
we already have a resolution for
Oh, we
that
already
one.
have a resolution.
Yeah, that's, we just,
Okay, so we've moved that last discussion to the next available committee of the whole meeting. So I guess I'll need a motion for adjournment.
so move.
All right, we'll be back here in 10 minutes to start the regular council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, chunky. There it goes.
Boy, we're chatty today.
Yeah. every time.
I sort of
though,
Questions come.
yeah, always with the grand nades, right?
As soon as I know
lots
on the
of
time
talk.
limit, then that's when my brain.
No,
is
it's
kicking
just, there's a few there that that were tough to,
in. I want to come up with something in my head that makes me decide. Okay, this one gets this, but
yeah, but sometimes it doesn't work that way.
I know.
Yeah, totally.
Sometimes it just doesn't work that way. You just have to, like, it's decided on the merits of the
The
organization.
event. I know.
Yeah, so.
Or the.
Well, and we struggled with it because when we did do it,
We've done it
nobody
twice.
comes, and then we're spending all that money on staff, and we're like, oh man, like, you know, it's responsible.
Nobody came.
acknowledging that we're fortunate to be gathered today here, got loud, on the unceded territory of the Sim people who've been caretakers of this land since time immemorial. Does anyone have any late items to add to the agenda? Hearing none, we do have some amendments to the agenda that we need to go over. We're going to be moving item 16.1, which is a report from the road maintenance contractor. No, sorry. We're going to be moving a report from blanking on his name. Our maintenance department, and then that will be 17.1. 17.2, we're going to have a presentation from our Black River Contracting. And then we'd like to move public engagement up to 7.2 in the agenda. So we'll take that on early in the agenda so that you guys don't all have to sit through to the end of the meeting. For that section, I just want to go over some general ground rules for the public comment period. We're going to be taking public comment from people for a maximum of 2 minutes per speaker, and there is a sign-up sheet on the podium. So if you would like to speak to council, if we could ask you to sign up just so we have an idea of how much time. Generally, there's a 10-minute limit on public comment, but we're going to extend that to 20 minutes at least this time, and if we have a significant list of speakers, we'll make sure that we extend it to make sure that everyone gets a chance to talk. When making a comment, it's important to remember that to keep your comments respectful, this is a workplace, this is members of your community who you're talking to. Council can ask questions to you or ask for clarification, but we will not enter debate based on the comments. So this is our chance to hear from you guys. We're interested in hearing what you have to say, but we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to speak. So Sid is going to be timing everyone, and at 2 minutes he'll notify me and I'll cut you off. So just a warning, if it goes on past 2 minutes, we will cut you off and ask for the next speaker to come up. But we'll get to that at item 7.2, as I mentioned. So can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Seconded by Councilor Bratton. All right, all those in favor? Moved, all right. Moving on, we will get to 7.1, which is a presentation from our Roads and Maintenance Department.
Hello, Acting Mayor, Council. As you know, Black River Consulting is our new road maintenance contractor, and we've invited Kelly Sunderman of Black River to come speak to Mayor and Council and the community. Just a little background. The RFP was completed in July of 2023 and awarded in September to the only bidder, Black River. Black River didn't have they have a great deal of maintenance experience on rural roads, and some of that equipment and experience does translate directly to urban road maintenance, but there has been some areas, there's a bit of a learning curve happening. And we've been working together, the district and BRC, monitoring progress and trying to meet the standard and keep the roads safe. And so today Kelly will address some of these areas where he's had issues and steps he's taking to improve. If Kelly's here, he can come on up.
And we'd like to invite Mr. Kelly Sunderman, a delegation on behalf of Black River Contracting, to present.
Good afternoon, Council. Just to give you a little background about some of the challenges, some things we've done since the contract was awarded. The contract closed end of September of 2023. Was awarded at the end of September. Immediately upon receiving confirmation and before the contract had been signed, Black River Contracting went out and purchased additional equipment, started planning our execution for all the needs of the contract. So that was done prior to the signing of the contract. Due to the time of the season to be awarded, this did create some challenges for us and continues to, primarily for us in the production of sand required for the roads. We did do a fair bit of production in the fall season, but because it's wet, sand is one of the most difficult things to produce in a wet season. One of the comments we've had is with some of the materials that we were using early in the season, because it was too large, Admittedly, that was what we used because that's what we had at the time, and we felt it was better to use what we had outside of the gradation that was required, so that we had something on the roads for traction. We've done a pretty good job in the last month or so with some drier conditions to be able to produce sand for the roads, and I'm sure you're seeing that amount around the community. Some things that we've learned in the first 3 months of the contract, I think are assisting us move forward in a strengthened and organized approach. Namely, we have had regular discussions with School District 73 representatives regarding road conditions, as well as some changes to the bus routes that we weren't aware of prior to the contract being awarded. Some of the changes from the previous years in the routes, as well as the pickup locations, we were not aware of, and nor was the district prior to the contract being awarded. We've altered the way that we address some of these areas, specifically the school buses routes. For example, Raft River, Campbell Creek, and Barber roads. Raft River is a priority 2 road. We have priority, sorry, I should go back and explain. We have priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3 roads. Raft River has a very steep hill to it coming out of Raft River that school buses have to come down. It's a priority 2 road. We now treat it as a priority 1, even though within our contract it's still a priority 2 road. So we treat it as one of our highest priority roads every morning. Campbell Creek, also a priority 2 road. We now treat that as a priority 1 road. And again, that's dealt with every single morning and in the afternoons as needed for the school buses. Barber Road is classified as a priority 3 road, which is our very lowest priority of our roads. We also treat that as a priority 1 road, primarily because the school buses go to the very top of Barber Road in the mornings, turn around and come down. So it seemed to make sense to us to do that. So that's something that we've taken on of our own accord. Between those 3 roads, we have 68 kilometers of road to be responsible for. Between those 3 roads, that makes up about 10% of our entire roads that we've taken from our priority 1, or priority 2s and priority 3s and made them priority 1s. So that does affect our cycle times a little bit, but that's something that we've done to be proactive and try and think ahead for the school district. We've learned some need for some of our equipment to be utilized in different areas over the best way to make them effective. For example, we have one of our sand trucks has a snow wing on it, which makes it a wider path for plowing. We've realized that some areas this is more effective and some areas it's less effective. And we have graders and other machines that should work in different areas. So we've learned that as part of our learning curve, that those machines should be utilized in different areas at different times. Also, the timing that we use our equipment, such as loaders for cleanup of intersections and that sort of thing after the plowing is created or completed, so that we can make sure those intersections are cleaned up in a timely fashion. That's something that we've had to be a little more proactive on. We weren't as quick as we should have been probably early in the season. We had a very strange start to the season. I think we can all recognize how mild it was and how wet it was, that it was something that took us some time to understand how quickly the weather was going to come on and how quick it was going to get cold and how quickly the snow can accumulate as well. And again, where our priority 1 roads are, and again, you know, Barber, Campbell Creek, and these other roads that we have to address much more quickly on school routes, morning and afternoon. Something that I took on personally this year was to make a point to personally respond to each and every call to our call center regarding all the roads. Whether this was a complaint or a compliment, I make a point of returning the call. That has been done in every case with the exception of 1. To give you a little bit of background on the calls in our call center, we didn't keep really good records in October and November. December, we had 16 calls. We had 4 related to the size of the sand. We had 5 related to general road conditions. 3 from people at locations other than our responsibility, in other words, private locations, apartment buildings and that sort of thing that was completely unrelated to us. We had 2 requesting special services. For example, the ski hill had parties during Christmas and New Year's. We went out of our way to make sure those were addressed appropriately. And 2 regarding highway closures. That's the total calls we received in our call center in December. In January to date, we received a total of 9 calls. To give you an idea of what we're dealing with, we received an email from the District of Clearwater on the 2nd of January regarding a call which dated back to December regarding the size of the gravel in somebody's area. We spoke to that homeowner, addressed it, received a complimentary call back a day later thanking us for our prompt attention and addressing it. We had 1 regarding park conditions on the park road. We directed them to Argo. We had a call from our property owner regarding trucks and equipment turning around on private property. I've spoken to the property owner on a couple of occasions. We haven't had an opportunity to meet face to face yet. We're hoping to do that today. I'm hoping this afternoon. Between January 9th and 15th, we've had 6 calls. One from a resident regarding the end of the road near their home where trucks were turning around. Road was being made to be too narrow. I attended the property, sent a machine by that afternoon. We addressed it. We received a call back later that day to thank us for our prompt attention and comments. The road looks excellent. We received a call on January 10th from a local compliment on our crews and our hard work and a big thank you to our drivers. We received a call from a resident regarding conditions of road up in Mountain View Road in Greer. We checked it out. We had a truck on it the next morning. We also received a call on the 13th from a resident thanking us for the good work done on the cul-de-sac outside their home. This was in Windhaven. Also in Windhaven, just last week, there was an issue with a narrowing road. Sorry, let me go back here. The road had been narrowed after we plowed. The neighbor has been plowing his driveway out onto the road. His little tractor can't push it back far enough, so we sent a backhoe down there to clean that up. We had a call just a couple of days ago regarding an icy road. Somebody having trouble getting up the road. We were unable to decipher the location. This call was not returned due to the amount of vulgarity used in the message. Couple of things we're looking at GPS. We've approached 2 different companies to provide us with some full GPS systems that we can track our trucks, their locations, and one of our plans going into hopefully later this season, but probably more likely next season, we're going to have a live website where our equipment can be followed on GPS, such as you would see in like the city of Edmonton. All of their stuff, you can just go on their website and see where they're at and what they're doing. So we're going to have Titan GPS Services is scheduling a demonstration to us hopefully in the next 2 weeks. We haven't set a time when we'll have that GPS in place. Following that, we'll make a decision. One last comment. We're crewed up quite well right now. We did lose a driver recently who quit due to the aggressive and negative comments being made on social media. The comment made when they left was, "It is compared to online bullying." So that's some of the stuff that we're dealing with. So that's kind of where we're at today. We're working hard to produce sand under dry conditions, and equipment's running good. We've got gear out there right now, and we're doing our thing as best we can. We're finding Chad and I are working daily to discuss where things need to be addressed a little bit better, and I think we've done a good job in other areas. But sand has been our biggest challenge, I think, this year by far. And given an opportunity to have the month of July and August to produce sand, we'll have a heck of a lot more stockpile going into next season. Any questions?
Okay, yeah. Any questions from Council Matheson?
Yeah, just to clarify your earlier comment about the sand issue at the very beginning of the year when the contract was issued.
Yeah.
Could you just explain that a little bit more to me again?
Yeah, we had a stockpile of sand. When we hit our first winter storm, it froze up on us, and we had another pile of what we call road mulch, which is a 3/4 minus product. So I chose to use that because we needed something that we could put on the roads at those particular days where we just didn't have the material. We weren't able to produce because it was raining, and sand doesn't go through a screen plant very well during the rain. So we've moved away from that pretty much everywhere that we can. We are using it a little bit sparingly on East Blackpool Road with council's knowledge, district's knowledge.
Okay. Other questions from Council? Council McKenzie?
Thank you. Thanks, Kelly, for coming in there. This day and age, everyone's trying to make a buck wherever they can through lawsuits, it seems. You see it all over the place. Now, winter road maintenance being a high-risk activity where the contractor and district can both be held liable. Just clarifying, you as the contractor, you do have the proper insurances in place with the district named as additional insured on the contract?
Absolutely. We've had to provide a copy of that prior to starting the contract.
Okay, no, perfect. It's not about me. I'm looking out for the town when I say that.
Well, on that note, going into this contract, it was something that we knew was going to greatly increase our insurance costs. Our insurance costs this year went over $65,000 higher than they were prior year, just to do the district maintenance.
Just for that. Correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions, comments from Council? Council Frizzle?
Are you using any salt or anything of
Absolutely.
that nature? You are?
Yeah, any temperatures under about 9 degrees, we can use salt. Temperatures we're in right now, salt has no effect.
Not use it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any further comments? Councillor Bratton?
How many vehicles do you have in your fleet at the moment? Not vehicles, machines.
3 sand trucks, plow trucks, 1 grader, and 2 backhoes or loaders. Or sorry, 1 backhoe, 1 loader is what we're utilizing.
Thank you.
Right, any further questions from council? All right, if not, then we'll move on to section 7.2, which is going to be public input. As I mentioned, we'd like people to sign up briefly, just so we get a sense of how much time we need to allot to this process. So there is a sign-up sheet on the podium. We're going to maybe take 2 minutes right now and give everyone the chance to sign up that would like to speak. Councillor Matheson?
Yeah, I'd just kind of like to address your losing a driver to social media. And this is something that I think that we need to address as a complete community, that the trash talk that goes on social media, that other communities pick up on, people moving into our community pick up on, and it can be easily dealt with just by making a phone call to the contractors, to the district, to the people involved, rather than downloading on social media. Nothing gets solved on social media. And everyone, please, I ask you to deal with the people directly and avoid doing the flame out on social media. It just does nobody any good. It doesn't do the district any good. It doesn't do anybody in the community any good. And it causes nothing but damage. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. If I could comment on that. We do have a number which we have been receiving all our calls on. We record every single call that comes in. None of our operators are on Facebook when they're out there working. So any comments that are being made are not being received to us, at least not on that day.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, so as I mentioned, we'll take 2 minutes. If folks want to speak to the council and provide public input, just put your name on that list, please, so we have an idea of how long we'll have for public comment.
Good comment. Good comment. Never mind. How's your brain, by the way? Oh, 8, okay.
Okay, and if that's everyone who's had a chance to sign up, we're good there. All right, it sounds like, oh, we have more.
All right.
There you go. Make some money.
You're banished. Yeah. All right, well, if that's everyone, well, perhaps I'll take that list and we can call up people one at a time to speak. If that makes sense.
Kelly Gibbons.
Okay, so for our first comment, we have Barry Banford.
Thank you, and I wish to thank Mayor Blackwell for the opportunity to come here and speak and inviting the public to come here, even though he's not here, and for advising the public that you only had one bid on the contract. I live on a small cul-de-sac. On the cul-de-sac, there's 14 houses. 6 of those houses are seniors. I'm well aware of the road contract for the past 11 years and well aware of the roads in Clearwater. Initially, I have to state a fact first. In the years past, when I go to Kamloops and other communities, their roads were nowhere near as good as Clearwater's. I can't say that this year. And I was proud of the roads and be able to say we lived in a community in the past where the roads are so well maintained. I realize it's a new contract and a new contractor. That's just a fact. On my cul-de-sac, initially in the beginning with the previous contractors, they brought in a grader or a plow truck, and it just didn't work. When you have 7 people out of 14 houses that are seniors and you put a berm in front of their driveways with serious health issues on some of those people, they can't do it. The other contractor developed a front end loader and a different bucket on the front end loader, and the service was unbelievable. It was just excellent. I have to say that the new contractor, the people that have been there, are respectful, they're courteous, they're kind, they try to do the best job they can, but my real fact is you can't do our cul-de-sac with a plow truck or a sand truck. It just doesn't work because you bring it in and you can't get the whole cul-de-sac, and all they do is put a berm in front of people's houses, which are seniors. I continually have to spend time trying to help my 88-year-old neighbor or my other neighbors, which have real handicap issues, to try to move a berm. So consider that when you're looking at cul-de-sacs where there's a lot of seniors living. You just can't do it. I appreciate the fact they haven't sanded our cul-de-sac heavily. It doesn't need to be sanded. It's 200 meters long, nobody speeds. Sand the corner, which they've done, which is great, where the stop sign is. So the only advice I can have other than that, in the future, if council is issuing a contract, look at the past experience that you have. You've all lived here. Look at the equipment was there. Put some of those contract requirements in the contract itself with the equipment that they need to do the proper job. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, and next up we have Hazel Dowds.
It is my understanding that there's minimum requirements met to plow in the town to keep the roads busy or keep the roads safe. So the school buses, ambulances, the rest of us. What happens if those are not met? Like, can we revamp, renegotiate, have somebody else come in? It's important to me that our roads are safe, that our sand. This morning I left home on Grant Road. There was a rock this big, middle of the road, other smaller ones around the road. That's, yes, it's sand issues, but I don't know if it's sand or rock or it's, anyway, there's room for improvement. And I would like to see those minimum standards met. And that's important for all of our safety.
So I can speak to some of that, and perhaps staff, if I'm incorrect or I'm out of line, you can jump in. But my understanding is that if there is a deficiency, according to the contract, so if you're seeing something that's not done or you see a service that you'd like to have, the first step would be to contact the contractor at the number that he's provided and let him know. As he mentioned with those phone call tracking systems, he's working to respond to those issues. The second step, we as a district do have responsibility to maintain compliance with that contract, and that would be our Public Works Department, who spoke earlier. And so that would be the second step. If your complaint isn't resolved with the contractor themselves, then it would be to call the district, and you can work through that with the district staff. And so, yes, and then generally, we would kind of maintain through the staff oversight on the contract. Does that
So
make
we're
sense?
hoping it improves? Is there a consequence if it doesn't improve?
So as with all contracts, people have agreed to a certain standard. So if the standard is never met, then there could be new looks at the contract. That is something that would potentially affect the contract. But at this stage, we have a brand new contractor, right? And so we're going to take every effort we can to make sure that he can be successful in the role. And that's going to be part of that is going to be him understanding what that role is. And that's going to take a curve.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else want to speak to that, or?
No, you did
Oh,
perfect.
you got that. Thanks, Bill.
All right, moving on. Well, our third speaker will be Doug Borrow.
In the request for proposal, it stipulates contractor must have sufficient sand supply to the correct sand sieve of 12.5 mils. Was there a geotechnical sieve involved in this? That's one I'd like to know. For the comment from the contractor, challenges producing sand. Contract was awarded end of September. We have October, November, December, mild temperatures to produce sand. Sand producer, I can produce 5,000 cubic meters in 10 days. That's 625 dump truck loads. I don't see why this is a problem. Difference between priority 1 and 2 roads. Priority 1 is 4 centimeters of snow. Priority 2 is 6 centimeters of snow. We're talking millimeters. Sanding difference is nothing. There is no difference between a priority 1 and 2. So I don't see a problem there. GPS tracking was also in the RFP that it was mandatory to be installed prior to the contract. If salt was actually used, like the contractor said, why do we have buildup from a January 6th snowfall when the temperature was 0 degrees to +1 to -1? Any amount of salt in there, we would have bare roads by now. So I would like that looked into.
Thank you. Anyone on council wish to speak to that? Staff, any response? Okay. Up next, we have Ernst Bezema. Did I say your last name right, Ernst?
Oh, there's so many ways that it's pronounced here. It's close enough. It's closer than anybody else says it, so I accept it that way. I hear the contractor said that he's not familiar with the winter weather because it got cold faster than he thought, and it was more or less snowfall. I don't understand. I thought he lived here for a while. He has quite some equipment. I was wondering how many operators he has, because if you have 6 pieces of equipment but only 1 operator, you will not get very far. The other thing that I'm curious about is, like, we have a lot of challenges, and I read the statement that he has a lot of challenges. He says he has a lot of challenges, but all those challenges should be addressed in a quality management system. And the quality management system should be in place before he started. And things like, I'm wondering if it's in place. I assume it is, but I'm wondering if it is. But if it is, are the following items in there: the process and the procedures to ensure compliance with the contract? Because currently, if you look at the service levels that have to be provided, they're just not provided. And I understand that he still has to learn, but he was lucky enough that he had snowfalls that were far enough apart, so you would think he learns from the first, then he goes to the seconds improved, and I think we're on a downhill slope there. Another thing that I was wondering in that quality management system, is there work recorded for keeping for payment? Like, what did you do? How much did you do? Who did what? Which roads were all done? Work identification and planning. Again, you have the service levels. Did he do what he had to do? He doesn't have a GPS, although it was necessary to be before he started the contract. And is there a way of damage control and damage reporting in his quality management system? Because I've noticed there's a lot of damage to roads. So I was wondering, like, how do we deal with this? Is it addressed? I think those are my main questions that I have for the contractor.
I can speak to the fact that we do have sort of a quality assurance plan in place, and that is something that's managed through the Public Works Department. Is there anything you'd like to speak to in there, Mr. Carmichael, or?
There's a lot there to talk about, but
Yes, sort of put you in the hot seat.
yeah, we do have Excel spreadsheets that we fill out and keep in contact with what is being done each day and what's the best plan of attack for each situation, that sort of thing. Yeah.
But an Excel spreadsheet is not a quality management system.
It is part of it.
We're not for everybody.
Yep, correct. Okay, so,
My 2 minutes are up.
your 2 minutes are up, yeah. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have Adam Boro.
The tender documents require that the contractor remove windrows of more than 150 millimeters in height in front of driveways created by plowing snow. This was not done. I'm just wondering why not.
Okay, does anyone on council want to speak to that, or staff?
I can, if that's how we're proceeding. Yeah, it was something new that was added to the contract. A timeline was not given, but the intention is to come and help out the community who hasn't already plowed out the end of their driveway. It's kind of a nice thing that we added.
Okay.
May I add to that, there is a timeline in the tender documents.
You got to be at the mic to speak, sorry. Next, we'll invite, is it Murray Dool? I'm not sure how to say the last name.
It's okay, it's Dowell, but everybody says Dual, I don't think.
Dowell, all right.
Thanks for the opportunity. In order to make informed decisions with regards to this contract or any contract as a taxpayer, it would be nice if council would consider releasing some of the terms of the contract to the taxpaying public. I don't know what those terms are, so it's hard for me to make an educated yay or nay when I don't know what the terms of the contract are. I phoned this morning and asked if I could get a copy, and I was told I couldn't. So I'd like to ask council to consider, considering there's so much misinformation in the community and so many bad feelings, if they would release the terms of the contract so that we can see what the expectations are. Thank you.
Okay, comments from council or staff on that one? I think the one part of the process that is public, and we send out an RFP for this. So at that time, people can bid on a public contract at that point. I'm not sure about the legalities of sharing our current contract. If staff could fill in on that. Is there a reason that's not public?
Sorry, equipment malfunction. So the district will be posting service level standards and pushing them out on social media and other mediums, so the public is aware of what the expectations are. So that information is forthcoming, and it will be out very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so that's all we have for public input speakers. Thank you very much for coming out. We do value your opinion.
Can I respond to some of those?
Generally, there's not a chance for debate, and
Okay.
yeah. We would, however, encourage, as we mentioned earlier, that all of you as members of the public, when you see a concern, speak directly to the roads contractor initially. It's much easier to resolve it at that level, and then if your issue is not resolved, then absolutely contact the district and staff can direct you. So we've had our public input. We'll move on to section 8 of the agenda.
They can leave it there, okay?
All right. Next up, we have the adoption of the minutes of council meeting held December 5th and special council meeting held December 12th, 2023. There is a recommendation. Okay, Councillor Matheson moves it. Do we have a seconder?
Second it.
Councillor Frizzle seconds. And all those in favor? All right.
I want to take a minute just to let them all leave.
Yeah, maybe we'll take a moment to let people filter out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
the old, Blackwater Road.
Should be able to see the contract, because that has first rate.
Yeah, so did I.
But he should be able to see the request for proposal. Which has all the specs. It should be working.
Yeah, I bet you guys. Thanks. Hey, Derek, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, they are advertised publicly. Most people don't know how to get them, but they are.
Yeah.
So it's not confidential.
Yeah.
So now that the bulk of people have headed out, we'll move on to number 9, which is adoption of the minutes of committee meetings. So we have ratification of recommendations from the committee of the whole. You have a list in front of you of the recommendations brought forward from the grant and aid discussion in the committee of the whole meeting. What is the will of council?
I move that the council, that the recommendations from 1 to 11 from the committee of the whole meeting, January 16th, be adopted.
Okay. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Bratton seconded, and all those in favor? All right. Moving on, we have no development and zoning today, no unfinished business, no public hearings. Mayor's report, Mayor Blackwell sends his regrets, was unable to make it today, as well as Councillor Sim also sends her regrets. Council reports, Councillor Bratton.
I have nothing to report, actually.
Thank you. Councillor Frizzle.
Thank you. I was acting mayor for December, which was very eventful and an interesting month. I do appreciate what the mayor goes through each and every day. I attended a meeting on the Highway 5 issues with Barry and Valmont. There was very robust discussions and input, and I think that they took away with a lot of information that they might not have even had before, so that was good. Just wanted to let everybody know that the trail from down here at Dutch Lake to Triple Decker Falls, the bridge is being put in right now. That's what the helicopters were for. Everybody was hearing and taking blocks and wood over there, and so it's nice to see that's continuing. I attended the Tourism World's Grey meeting yesterday. Claire Hanna is returning. She'll be back Mondays and Tuesdays for January and February. They're back full-time in March. And Amber Benoit is now, this is her last day today. And yesterday they were reported that the renovations are going very well at the Visitor Information Center. Fortunately, they got their furnace in before this cold snap came, so the building's nice and toasty warm in there as they're working. They've got all the carpeting pulled out. They're putting in a new water system. They're putting in handicap door mechanism. So I think there's going to be quite a change in there when they open up again in the spring. And they did report that the skiing is good on the cross-country trail, so everybody should get out. And the Rotary is going to be, they still want to do their fishing derby, but they're just waiting to see better. And I just wanted to say that last week I had a seniors learning lunch, which I do every month, but this month I had the Wells Grey Search and Rescue come in, and it just made me realize how lucky we are to have this group of volunteers that train so hard so that they can come or they can go out and search for wayward individuals that go up into the mountains and find difficulties getting back. There's a lot of training that goes into that position and a lot of dedication. And they have 6 to 26 events that they go out every year, and they have about 25 members that go out. So I do really appreciate that they're here, and I just needed to sort of say that local, that we are very lucky to have them. So that's my report for today.
Okay, and for my report, I attended the meeting with the Chamber of Commerce with MLAs Millibar and Stone. very interesting to hear what's going on in their world. They are advancing the Highway 5 cause at the provincial level, as well as I managed to, point out some of our back roads that also need some support. So that was, hopefully they can make an impact there, but it was nice to have them come up. Aside from that, I've been acting mayor since the start of January, just kind of keeping the ship afloat while while January proceeds and Merlin's been off. So
The mayor has been off.
yeah, Mayor Blackwell has been off. On to Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Herring. Not a lot to report for me. Been pretty tied up with work with the weather situation we've been having lately. I just want to say, with the snow and cold weather coming, just check in on your neighbors, seniors, elders around in your area. Just keep an eye for them and offer some help when needed. That's about it for the report.
Right on, and Councillor Matheson.
Yeah, nothing really to report. I was at the Highway 5 safety meeting, and there was a very strong contingent, very strong voice from the valley, and hopefully it will make a difference. Time will tell.
All right, let's move on to section 16, which is new business staff reports. Oh, Councillor Bratton.
It kicked in my memory, sorry. Slow. On the cold weather aspect, there is a few places that are offering for people with frozen pipes and whatnot. There's a couple businesses that have really stepped up to the plate, and the Quality Inn is offering a place to warm up, showers, and a couple rooms to kick back if so needed. And the A&W is also offering any water jugs that need to be filled up, and the Collective Hair, the old dollar store, is where you can fill up water jugs. You may do it for free today. And also, I do have to mention, there was a couple events over the holidays, and Shelley, Councillor Sim, does do on her own time the Christmas dinner, and it was very well received this year. There was delivery, there was sit down, and it just is amazing to see this town pull together when it really tries. And so I commend her and all her helpers, little elves. Her elves that come in and help with that. So anyways, that's all I had.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to section 16, new business staff reports. 16.1, we had the road maintenance contract, but that was moved to earlier in the conversation. So we're on to 16.2, development services refresh. Would staff like to speak to this?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Just bear with me for 1 minute. We'll put up, have a slide deck for a short presentation. Okay. Thank you, Council. I just wanted to introduce the background to our Development Services Refresh project, which has been going on for the last few months. Our planning consultant here, Jason Johnson, is here in the room in chambers. I just wanted to give an overview of some of the issues and challenges that we've been going through and the importance of addressing our infrastructure and regulatory impediments. Next slide, please. The challenges that we've identified include staff changes affecting development applications, time delays with completing subdivisions, quite a high requirement for small sales subdivisions, and so some of the standards in our bylaws are very urban in nature, and I think we can make some changes there. Also, it's analysis by paralysis, and also the economic impact of the development community due to delays, which is significant. We'd like to provide more investor certainty. Next slide, please. So our priority recommendations going forward are to move applications forward and address these with the backlog. We have some applications that need attention. Also look at our subdivision standards to enhance some clarity and transparency, and look at our infrastructure service requirements. There's places where, as I mentioned before, I think we need to develop to a rural standard, not an urban standard. We have things like infrastructure, it'll end up costing us money in the future, and we think we can reposition it for more realistic growth projections as well. Next slide, please. We're grateful for the help that we get from the TNRD. They're always very, very, very good. We also have identified our own internal staff capacity issues, which is dealing with some of the delays. And we have a recommendation to increase capacity to expedite the process and move this project along. Next slide, please. Decision making, we've taken a look at the development project momentum, so we want to try and cut red tape there. So look at the bottlenecks in our streamlining our processes. So we'll be bringing forward recommendations in those regards with our bylaws and policies. Next slide, please. And we're also going to look at delegations of authority to simplify some of our processes. For example, council last fall looked at some single lot subdivision issues that required DPs or DVPs, and those can be delegated to staff within policy frameworks, and it can be simply less bureaucracy to move those projects forward. Next slide, please. Thank you. We also want to take a look at our regulatory framework to align with our current directions and look at a review and update of our bylaws and policies, as I've mentioned before. Next slide, please. The other area we want to pay attention to is our fee imposition. Our fees are not based on a cost recovery basis model, so when we're doing the work, in effect we're subsidizing it, and I think we could charge more realistic fees, which would align with the rest of our fees and charges. So we propose to bring those forward and consolidate them and create a more business focused cost recovery model, as well as the DCCs. We are looking at doing updates to our OCP and align it with the current needs. As you know, the province has brought in a number of regulations around the housing and planning legislation. There's quite a lot there. I've been going through it. It's very, very complicated, and the impacts of what this could do for densities and how that will impact us. The province has been kind enough to provide us with some grant money, which will be very, very put to good use. We're going to recommend some updates to the relevant parts of the OCP rather than a wholesale change, because they're going to mandate OCP 5 years. So in this case, I think we need to just do a tweak in order to get this across the finish line and get some things happening quicker, because we need to put in some data around growth projections as well. Next slide, please. We also want to put in a sustainable service model, as I mentioned, and develop a little more proactive approach for how we do bylaw maintenance. There's a number of bylaws that will intersect with doing this process, which I think will actually help streamline it and improve some efficiencies. Next slide, please. And we also look at the value of council's strategic plan, which is coming forward next meeting as in draft, and also looking at prioritizing infrastructure investments. As you know, the government is coming to the end of its mandate at the provincial level, and we expect an election probably in the fall, perhaps. And so there's a budget coming down, I believe, in March with this government, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be some things that we may want to have some shelf-ready projects for, and make sure we align for that. And also, we recommend some lobbying too on the district's behalf. Next slide, please. I'd just like to acknowledge all of the staff, yourselves as well, the TNRD, TRU, our AO, and everybody that's been very, very helpful in this whole process. There's been a lot to it, but it's been really, really grateful to have the support. The team has really done an outstanding job to get it this far. Moving forward, we have some business planning that we'd like to get going on, and also we expect some timelines and projects coming forward in the next weeks. Next slide. Any questions?
Questions from council? Councilor Matheson?
Yeah, I just see on the decision-making process, or adding internal capacity, how would we be adding internal capacity? Can you just enlighten me on that?
Yes, we have an item coming up on the agenda later on in the meeting, and I can't comment. It's a closed meeting item.
Okay. Any other questions, Councillor Mackenzie?
Yeah, I just want to thank staff for their work towards this. Clearly, in the 5 years that I've been here, there are some items that need to be streamlined through the process here. I'm glad to see that it's finally coming through, and I do appreciate your thoughts towards the rural over urban. It's tough to wrap my head around sidewalks around Clearwater, such as down near the info center. We have one stretch of about 100 feet of sidewalk, and I
That
just
stray
can't
piece
wrap my
of-
head around that. So I do appreciate your work towards that, both with yourself and Mr. Johnson. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Further comments, Councillor Bratton?
I'm with Councillor Mackenzie. I appreciate all the work put towards this, and I'm quite excited that our strategic plan will be in the next meeting, or draft formula. So that is good, and I'm really happy to see that we're going to close gaps within our planning system. This is very exciting to see. If we can streamline things, fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. I think it speaks to the whole team's desire to create an investment-ready organization.
Yeah.
Because that's investment-like certainty, and we want to provide some of that to help people make decisions.
And I really like to see, because people want to see growth in Clearwater, and this will help us maintain and grow. So.
Thank you.
Councillor Matheson?
Just a little comment about the end there, on the OCP and stuff. Do we have a feel for how the provincial regulations are going to roll out, or do you have any thoughts on that, or how it's going to affect our OCP?
So the housing acts, I should say, which is planning-based legislation that's come out and has been passed. There's a lot of interpretive papers coming out from the province. There's quite a bit of work to do, and what they expect. They have, for example, in some communities that are within, I think it's at 15K of urban centers, and there's a 3% vacancy standard in some cases, depending on where your location is. We're under 5,000, so some of these things don't impact us, but we anticipate that some of them will impact us in the future, because they're going to be bringing out more regulations and more stuff on how this is all going to pan out. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's moving target, and a lot of it is around the densities. They're doing away with public hearings in many cases. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to do, and that's why I think it's really in our interest just to not dive into a full-on OCP review, because it'll be a 5-year mandate anyway in legislation, and I could babble on for a long time, and I'm respectful of your time. So,
Okay, further comments from council? I'd just like to say this is a tremendous amount of work, and
Yeah.
I think it's, looks like a step in the right direction. There is a recommendation on the floor. Would anyone like to move the recommendation?
Oh, yes. I move that council adopt the recommendations in this report and direct staff to incorporate the recommendations into the operational planning business plan.
Do we have a seconder?
Second that.
Councillor Mackenzie. All right, further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that is passed. All right, next up we have 16.3, Clearwater Recreation Insurance Instructors Group. There is a staff report there. Would staff like to speak to this?
Thank you, Acting Mayor and Council. Just a few highlights. Upon renewal of our liability and property insurance, there were some questions that arose regarding recreation coverage. And through our conversation with Municipal Insurance Association, we realized there was a gap. So this report basically closes that gap. The district has updated their master service provider agreement, and it's attached to the report. The types of services, recreation services that were previously included back to 2018 were fitness classes, healthy living presentations, and cooking classes. So anything outside of those recreation activities would not have been covered under our liability insurance. So the current liability insurance master agreement includes recreation and wellness programs, drop-in sports camps, and outdoor youth camps. So I have worked with our recreation, culture, and events coordinator, and she feels that those will encompass most of what she's programming in the next year. Upon council approval to allow the Clearwater Recreation Instructors Group to use this liability insurance, then our coordinator will then have an agreement with each recreation program instructor that does not have insurance. Currently, they could come onto our insurance. There are some risks involved in it, and it's listed on page 30 of your report. If there was a claim, we would still have to pay the $5,000 of the claim. If it's less than $5,000, we would have to pay that as well. It could impact our claim history. And again, this is generally speaking, this should be our last resort. If the instructor cannot get their own insurance, this insurance would cover them. It's not expensive, it's $250. However, MIA requires us to go through these recommendations.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all right. Do we have any questions from council? Councilor Frizzle?
Is that $250 overall, or is that $250 per instructor?
Overall.
Overall,
Per year.
per year, yeah.
Okay, Councilor Brad?
And it's just for activities, healthy living activities, like, for instance, does it cover, do we care, or does it need to cover Canada Day? Is that, no?
Okay, so if the activity is managed and operated by an employee,
Yep.
then it's covered. These are for activities where we ask the service provider to come in and provide a service for us, such as Tabata classes.
Gotcha.
So if our Tabata instructor cannot get their own insurance, we would cover them for that.
Oh.
So it's specifically for instruction for recreation and wellness programs,
Yeah.
drop-in sports, camps, and outdoor activities. So that would include your swimming camp,
Yeah.
your hockey camp. If we had perhaps mountain biking, might include that. Drop-in badminton, drop-in pickleball, soccer.
Maybe a float on the lake.
That maybe well, if the instructor is with the District of Clearwater and provides that service, maybe. Yep.
Another question.
Okay, Councilor Frizzle?
You brought up something in my head. If there's pickleball, carpet bowling, that type of stuff, there's no instructor. Will they be covered under insurance if they get hurt?
That's the drop-in sports.
That's the drop-in sports. Okay. Perfect.
All right, are there any further questions? If not, there's a recommendation on the floor, or on the report. Would anyone like to move that recommendation?
I'll move that council agrees to provide liability insurance for contract activity instructors who form the Clearwater Recreation Instructors Group through the Municipal Insurance Association's Associate Member Program. And that council authorize the District of Clearwater's Coordinator of Recreation, Culture, and Events to enter into service provider agreements with individual recreation instructors for the provision of liability insurance through the district's liability insurance held with the Municipal Insurance Association of BC.
Well done.
Say that 3
All
times.
right.
I second.
Seconded by Councilor Frizzle. Further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, that is passed. Next up, we're moving into bylaws. We have draft bylaw 294, Emergency Program Committee Amendment. Would staff like to speak to this amendment?
Oh, that's mine.
Yes, Acting Mayor Herring. So this report before you and the amending bylaw attached are it's clearing up some of our committee recommendations from the December 5th meeting. The primary rationale behind the amendment is just to change the scope of what was previously an emergency management working group, which never met ultimately, and sort of just moving it closer towards what our revised committee structure is ideally going to look like. Following this, we'll come back with the terms of reference for the committee, and then we would continue on with that with an expression of interest and council sort of selecting committee members.
Okay. Questions of staff on this? Would anyone like to move the recommendation?
Basically, this is just housekeeping, right?
Correct. This is just housekeeping for the committee structure that we have discussed previously.
That's right, okay. I move the recommendation. That emergency program bylaw number 261, amendment bylaw number 294, 2024 be introduced and read a first and second time.
All right. Do we have a seconder for that?
Second that.
Councillor McKenzie. All right. And so I do the reading after it's been voted on, or sorry,
You would, acting Mayor Herring, yes, you'd read it now and then the vote would proceed afterwards.
Perfect. All right. So this is a vote on a bylaw to amend the District of Clearwater Emergency Program Bylaw number 261, 2022. Whereas Section 137 of the Community Charter provides that the power to adopt a bylaw includes the power to amend or repeal it. Do I need to read that part?
Yep.
Yep.
All the way down.
All the way down to the citation?
Yeah.
Citation.
Okay. And whereas the Council of the District of Clearwater wishes to amend District of Clearwater Emergency Program Bylaw number 261, 2022, now therefore the Council of the District of Clearwater in an open meeting assembled enacts as follows. This bylaw may be cited as Emergency Program Bylaw number 261, Amendment Bylaw number 294, 2024. All those in favor?
Seems fairly tough.
And that is passed. Okay.
I think we have to read it.
Yeah, and there's a recommendation to read it a third time. Councillor Bratton, you're moving that?
Yeah. Do I need to read that?
Can I get a seconder?
No, you don't read it.
Okay.
All right, Councillor Matheson seconds, and so I read it again.
You read it again.
All right, whereas Section 137 of the Community Charter provides that the power to adopt a bylaw includes the power to amend or repeal it, and whereas the Council of the District of Clearwater wishes to amend District of Clearwater Emergency Program Bylaw number 261, 2022, now therefore the Council of the District of Clearwater in an open meeting assembled enacts as follows. This bylaw may be cited as the Emergency Program Bylaw number 261, Amendment Bylaw number 294, 2024. All those in favor? And that is passed. Okay. Moving on, for 17.2, there was just a spelling mistake or a grammatical mistake there. I don't know what to call it. But it's the wrong bylaw listed. This is
Yeah.
number 261, but we're actually, it's draft bylaw 295, Board of Variance. So just be aware that the recommendation lists the emergency program bylaw when it's intended to list bylaw 295. So, does staff wish to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor Herring. This bylaw is to bring the District of Clearwater into compliance with the community charter. Any municipality that has a zoning bylaw is required to have a board of variance. It hasn't been done since incorporation, and there was a zoning bylaw. This is just to sort of bring it into compliance. The bylaw is quite, follows standard practice across the province and as well as the community charter in terms of membership and makeup. And once this is passed, we go out with an expression of interest to for council to select 3 members of the community for the board of variance. Essentially, if you're unaware, the board of variance sort of tries to take some of the minor hardships for example, if someone had come to the board of variance with the recent second kitchen proposal, the minor variation, it could have gone there instead of coming to council, and they could have approved it The Board of Variance isn't under council's direction. It is a sort of tribunal that's separate from council, but council does select the members and appoints them, and you can unappoint them. Are there any questions?
Councilor Frizzle?
Is there someone at the Board of Variance meeting to help run the meeting if these are people that are just coming from the community that don't know the structure?
Councilor Frizzle through the chair, acting mayor. Yes, in the bylaw there is provisions for a secretary to be provided by the Director of Corporate Services. Generally, that's going to be myself or the executive assistant. We'll be receiving applications. We'll be setting times with the chair of the Board of Variance for meetings, and in those we would be taking the minutes and all the decisions from there. So we would be guiding through the process.
Okay, other questions from council, comments?
I think that's it.
All right, there's some recommendations there.
But what is the recommendation? Because that's not the right one.
It's just that the bylaw 295 Board of Variance Amendment bylaw number 295 2024 be read a first and second time.
I'll move that.
Seconder.
Seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Okay, and so District of Clearwater bylaw number 295 2024, a bylaw to authorize the establishment of a Board of Variance. Whereas the Council of the District of Clearwater has adopted a zoning bylaw, and whereas the Local Government Act provides that where a council has adopted a zoning bylaw, there shall be established by bylaw a Board of Variance. And whereas the Local Government Act provides that in a bylaw establishing a Board of Variance, there shall be set out a procedure to be followed by the Board of Variance, including the manner in which appeals are to be brought to the Board of Variance and how notices of applications to the Board of Variance are given. Now, therefore, the Council of the District of Clearwater, in an open meeting assembled, hereby enacts as follows. This bylaw may be cited as the District of Clearwater Board of Variance Bylaw 295-2024. All those in favor? All right. And there is a second recommendation for a third reading. If someone wishes to move it. Moved by Councillor Bratton, seconded by Councillor Matheson. District of Clearwater, bylaw number 295, 2024, a bylaw to authorize the establishment of a Board of Variance, whereas the Council of the District of Clearwater has adopted a zoning bylaw, and whereas the Local Government Act provides that where a council has adopted a zoning bylaw, there shall be established by bylaw a Board of Variance. And whereas the Local Government Act provides that in a bylaw establishing a Board of Variance, there shall be set out the procedure to be followed by the Board of Variance, including the manner in which appeals are to be brought to the Board of Variance and how notices of application to the Board of Variance are to be given. Now, therefore, the Council of the District of Clearwater, in an open meeting assembled, hereby enacts as followed. This bylaw may be cited as the District of Clearwater Board of Variance Bylaw 295-2024. All those in favor?
It is a good thing.
Whew. Mouthful.
Don't you love bylaws?
Right. Okay. Moving on to correspondence response required. We have a call for resolution from Silga. I don't know if folks have had a chance to kind of discuss any potential Silga resolutions, or if people have ideas at this point.
We haven't had anything come up, have we, for resolutions?
We certainly have the opportunity, I
Yeah,
think, with
we
Highway
do.
5
Yeah,
and a
absolutely.
few other major issues.
Yeah, Highway 5, hydro.
So there's call for resolution from Silga. There is a process to get these resolutions in.
Yeah.
Maybe as a council, if we want to do some advocacy, this is something we can talk about in our advocacy plan and kind of come up with some resolutions for Silga. These recommendations can feed into UBCM
Yes,
as well.
exactly.
Like Silga can put them forward to UBCM. So this is our chance to
This is
speak
where
to
it
the provincial
starts.
government. All right, 18.2, we have a letter from the BC Rural Health Conference sponsorship invitation. They're looking for support from us, I believe.
Is that what they're looking for?
Pull up the letter now.
Or are they looking for members,
Yeah, they're looking for
Yep. For people to attend?
represent our community.
Yeah.
Conference.
Oh, yes, okay, this is, Councillor Sim went in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we supported it to some extent, but I think rural BC Rural Health.
It's a chance to get our face out there. Is this something that we want to do?
It's a lot of money. When do they have to have the,
Would,
I'm looking at the date here.
would this not be represented by the doc? I don't,
the rural health, rural, whatever it's called?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
for me, this speaks more to physician medical recruitment kind of stuff. Is that our role as council to get involved in that on a face-to-face kind of basis? Basically, we'd be marketing the community.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't know where we stand on that. But have we supported?
Could we come back to this? If we talk to Councillor Sim and see what their program is?
Where is she going?
Or if they're already involved or not?
So I mean,
Do you know?
I don't know.
Their deadline though for
Or, yeah, what's a deadline?
End of, not too far away.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
So-
May 24th,
Well, that's when it is, but
when it's happening, so.
we'd like to
seeing
hear
a
from us
deadline
at
on
the
there.
earliest opportunity.
Yeah. Personally, I would say this is outside of the lane of municipal
I
government.
agree
is
with
my
you.
take.
I agree with
So
you.
I think we can pass on this and somebody more appropriate can represent us at that
Yeah, I
one.
agree.
Yeah,
I support a
If the
group
local
going,
physicians
but
came up and wanted some sort of financial assistance with it, we could consider maybe $500 or something, but I think for us,
this is,
it's a no-go. It's expensive.
Okay, so
Just $3,000, $3,600
and that's just the start.
just to start, and then you got accommodations and
Travel.
okay, so it sounds like we're going to pass on that one.
well,
18.3, we have a request of letter of support from the North Thompson Aboriginal Cultural Center Society.
yes, please
Yes,
carry on
please.
with that.
Absolutely.
We do it every year. I'd like to see that keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need a motion for
Yes.
that? All right, so Councillor McKenzie, would you like to make that motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we send out a letter of support for Miss Wilgosh in regards to the North Thompson Aboriginal Cultural Center Society.
Clearwater Truth and Reconciliation.
Sorry?
So Clearwater Truth and Reconciliation.
For the Truth and Reconciliation Day for their grants, please.
All right, do I have a seconder on that? Okay, Councillor Frizzle. All right, any further discussion? All right,
Yay them.
all those in favor? All right, great. We have no information-only correspondence, no notice of motions. We did some public input earlier, but if members of the public would like to speak now to any other item on the agenda, you're welcome to. Is there any public comment?
There is, but it's not on the agenda, but I talked to Merlin today. We have a rooster in our subdivision, we have chickens. I'm serious. We have a rooster, we have chickens, we have a rabbit, she admitted to it. Down here, we have a chicken, a rooster and chickens, and a duck.
are they competing?
So
All right.
Merlin's not sure how big a parcel of land they're allowed to have. Are they allowed to have it in subdivisions?
Probably.
They moved
but-
from Ontario, and I got a feeling what they did in Ontario, they want to do here.
So maybe that's a good question to ask of district staff, and they can point you in the right direction. Okay? And,
Merlin told me to bring it up, so.
fair enough. Lobbing bombs our direction. All right. Do we have any more public comment? All right. If not, we do have an in-camera. So can someone make a motion for us to move in camera?
So moved.
Okay.
Don't we have to
Councillor
move out?
Matheson and Councillor Bratton. All those in favor? All right. So the recommendation is that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to Section 90 of the Community Charter to discuss matters relating to a personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality. So maybe we'll take a 5-minute recess and come back for in-camera.
Thanks for coming,
How many?
everybody. Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Could we get a vote on that? So all those in
Oh.
favor?
All those in favor?
And that's passed. All right. And yes,
Yes. I did.
How long are we recessing for?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. 5 minutes.